You remember when expensive rent meant like $1,000 for a shoebox downtown and everyone freaked out? Yeah, cute times. Because right now, there's a city in America where the average rent is over $6,000 a month. Not the penthouse, not the supervillain lair, the average. And y'all, that metro is exactly who you think it is. New York City. According to Rent.com's research, during one 2022 survey period, New York City logged the highest rent in the entire country, averaging about $6,165 a month. $6,165 for 1 month. That's not rent, that's a boss fight. So today we're doing a deep dive into how the hell we got here, why New York's rents are on God mode, and how this whole mess ties into a national we can't afford to live here crisis that's hitting millions of renters across the US. Alright, first we gotta zoom out for a second. This isn't just a New York is crazy story. This is the entire US rental system is cooked story. Visual Capitalist pulled data from the US Census and mapped out how many renters are what they call severely rent burdened. That means they spend more than 50% of their income on rent. Half their paycheck gone before they even hit DoorDash. Nationwide, it's about 24.3% of renter households doing that. So roughly 1 in 4 renters in America is throwing more than half their money just at housing, according to Visual Capitalist. That's not tight budget territory, that's I hope my car doesn't break down because I'm cooked territory. And in some states, it's way worse. Florida is the most rent burdened in the country. 30.1% of renters there spend more than half their income on rent. Then you've got Nevada at 28%, California at 27.5%, and New York at 26.9%. New York isn't just expensive. A massive chunk of its renters are one rent hike away from living in their car. So yeah, this isn't just vibes, this is math, and the math is ugly. Now, let's rewind a little, because New York didn't just wake up one day and decide, let's charge the GDP of a small country for a studio. Now let's remember something. Back in the 70s and 80s, New York was rough. Crime was high, the city was broke, and a lot of people were actually leaving. You could snag a sketchy loft if you were brave and broke enough. Artists, weirdos, punks, they moved in because it was cheap and chaotic. Then the script flipped. The 90s and 2000s roll around. Crime drops. Wall Street is printing money. Media and fashion blow up. Then tech inches in. Suddenly, New York isn't just a city, it's a brand. Developers look at that and go, oh, people will pay anything to be here. And boom, luxury buildings, glass towers, amenity spaces nobody uses, all that. Rents ratchet up year after year because the city keeps exporting the same message. If you want to be somebody, you come here and you pay for it. Fast forward again to the 2010s. Airbnb pops off, investors start treating apartments like Pokemon cards, and foreign money pours into real estate like it's a safety deposit box. At the same time, normal people, they're just trying to live. Wages are creeping up like a snail, while rents are hitting the gas. By the time we hit the early 2020s, the national rental market is already wobbling. Rent.com points out that by August 2022, the average US asking rent hit a record of about $1,704. That's the national number. Meanwhile, New York City is out here with an average rent of $6,165, up 24.8% year over year in their high rent cities list. So while the rest of the country is screaming over $1,700, New Yorkers are dropping triple that and acting like it's not great, but kinda normal. That's how broken the scale is. And then we get the pandemic arc, the weirdest plot twist of all. In 2020, everyone swore New York is dead. People bolted for the suburbs, rents in some buildings dropped, landlords started offering free months, and for like 5 seconds, it looked like renters actually had leverage. But once vaccines hit and the world half reopened, the comeback to the city rush started. Offices nudged people in, social life powered back up, and a bunch of people who fled realized, wow, the suburbs are kind of boring. That's when rent went full anime power up. Between 2021 and 2022, rents ballooned across the country. Rent.com notes that overall, rents jumped nearly 20% over 2 years at one point. And in that window, New York City took the crown as the most expensive rental market in America, with that $6,165 average monthly rent in August 2022, topping a list full of places like Palo Alto, Boston, Oakland, San Francisco, and Santa Monica. You know it's bad when San Francisco, the city everyone memes about for $3,000 closets, is not number one. Now, let's bring this down to the human level because the numbers alone don't hit hard enough. Imagine you're a regular person, not a hedge fund goblin, not a tech founder. Let's say you're making decent money, maybe $90,000 a year in New York. That sounds solid until you realize that $6,165 a month in rent is over $73,000 a year. You literally cannot afford the average rent in the highest rent metro on that income. You'd need a roommate, a partner, or a straight-up miracle. Zoom out again. Rent.com's February 2025 report says the wage needed to comfortably afford the typical U.S. apartment is about $63,680 per year, with the national average rent around $1,607 a month as of early 2025. And that's after rents cooled off a bit. They're still just 5.6% below that 2022 peak. So nationally, you need mid-60s income to not drown. In a place like New York, you need way more than that just to not feel constantly terrified. And here's where the rent-burdened state data slaps you in the face again. According to Visual Capitalist, New York is among the top rent-burdened states, with 26.9% of renters paying more than half their income on housing. That's more than 1 in 4 renters basically working just to pay the landlord. But here's the wild part. It's not even the worst. Florida is at the top with 30.1% of renters in that over 50% of income on rent category. Nevada at 28%, California at 27.5%. So while New York City might have the highest raw rents, places like Florida and Nevada are where renters are getting absolutely smashed by the rent-to-income ratio. Their rents might be numerically lower than New York's, but their paychecks are smaller too, so the burden is brutal. Coastal states dominate that pain list. New York, California, Florida, Hawaii, Oregon, Rhode Island, and New Jersey, all showing high shares of severely rent-burdened renters. Meanwhile, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming are chilling at the bottom with the lowest rent burdens, around 15 to 17% of renters paying half their income on housing. So yeah, you could move to North Dakota and actually breathe, but you probably won't because jobs and weather and the fact that there's like one decent coffee shop. Trade-offs, folks. Back to New York, the final boss of rent. That Rent.com High Rent Cities report doesn't just say NYC is expensive. It shows how much of the top 100 most expensive cities are clustered in just a few areas. Almost half of them are in California, and a big chunk are around New York and Boston. The West and Northeast are absolutely stacked with high-cost metros. Think about the top 10: New York, Palo Alto, Boston, Oakland, San Francisco, Cambridge, Santa Monica, Redwood City, San Diego, Somerville. It's all coasts,
tech hubs, and college cities. These are the places young people are told they need to move if they want careers, connections, or clout. And the system is basically like, sure, come on in, just sign away your financial future on this lease.
Now, the plot in 2024-2025 sounds a little better on paper. Rent.com's February 2025 report says national rent growth has chilled out. Average U.S. asking rent, $1,607, up just 0.4% year over year. Rents are way more stable than the 2021-2022 madness. Vacancy rates are at 3-year highs. Tons of new apartments have been built, making 2025 kind of a renter's market. On top of that, incomes have gone up a bit, so renters can technically afford more space than a year ago. But the key line in that report? Over the past 5 years, housing costs have far outpaced wages. So even if things are stabilizing, they're stabilizing at a level where millions of people are already underwater. That's like saying, good news, the roller coaster stopped going up. Cool, we're stuck at the top. And when you overlay that with Visual Capitalist's map, where nearly 1 in 4 renters is severely rent-burdened, you realize this isn't a quirky New York problem. It's a structural, national, we built housing like a scarcity machine problem. So what do people actually do with this? Option 1, stay in the expensive metros, New York, San Francisco, Boston, Miami, and just accept that 40, 50, even 60% of your income is going to rent. You're paying a vibes tax for culture, nightlife, access to top jobs, and the privilege of saying, yeah, I live in Brooklyn. Option 2, flee to cheaper states, the Dakotas, the Midwest, random corners of the South, where the rent burden is lower, but job markets can be thinner, and the lifestyle might not match what you want. Option 3, cross your fingers and hope policymakers figure something out. Zoning reform, more construction, rent relief, something. But let's be real, that's not exactly moving at Marvel movie speed. In the meantime, the market is doing what the market does, pricing everything like it's a luxury product, including basic shelter. And that's really the terrifying part, y'all. When New York City can average over $6,000 a month in rent and still fill those units, it sends a message to every other landlord in every other hot metro. You can push harder, people will pay, or they'll leave and someone richer will replace them. Meanwhile, Visual Capitalist's numbers are sitting there like a flashing red warning light. Nearly a quarter of renter households in the US are severely rent-burdened. In states like Florida, Nevada, California, and New York, it's closer to 1 in 3. That's not sustainable. That's not the market working. That's a slow-motion disaster. So, where does that leave us? So, we've got a national average rent that's still near record highs per Rent.com. We've got entire states where over 25% of renters are hemorrhaging half their income on housing. And at the top of the pile, we've got New York City standing there like the final boss of rent, demanding $6 grand a month just to exist within its zip codes. It's impressive, it's iconic, it's also straight up ridiculous. Folks, if your rent is eating you alive, you're not crazy. You're not bad with money. You're not failing at adulthood. You're living in a system where the normal metro wants more from you than a lot of people make in a year. And the most expensive metro treats $6,000 a month like just another Tuesday. That's wild, right? And until something big changes, more housing, better wages, smarter policy, the US metro with the highest rent isn't just a quirky trivia fact, it's a warning.